walks of life rallied and walked throughout their community, picking up litter in a vow to keep Maricopa beautiful. We received dozens of emails from groups showcasing their efforts to keep Maricopa beautiful by collecting multiple bags of litter during the 2-hour only event. To learn more about the next community cleanup event, please visit keepmaricopabeautiful.com.
Good morning, City of Maricopa. We are standing on the north side of town on State Route 347, which is the main entrance into the City of Maricopa. Over the last few years, we've seen tremendous growth with residential and commercial. As growth continues, it gives us the opportunity to do additional projects, one of which is a landscaping project down the 347. It'll go from Honeycutt Road to the north entries of town. This includes trees, landscaping, rock boulders, some metal art deco. There will be some lighted metal structures all the way down the median. When you pull into the north side of town, we're going to have an impressive monument right in the middle of the road that represents the City of Maricopa, which has been well needed for many years. This project has been years, maybe even decades in the making, with City Council and citizens' requests and responses to increase the beautification of coming into town. We'd like to thank each one of you for the time, effort, energy, and the patience of getting this done. We look forward to having this project completed by the end of the year.
Hi, good morning. This is Mayor Christian Price and Councilman Rich Vitiello. We are here at the grand opening of the new community center, which hosts a wing for the veterans and also a wing for the seniors, so a senior center, as well as a middle area that is a community center where all types of different things can be hosted, or either of those organizations can overflow into it. This is a very exciting day as the seniors have waited long and hard for a dedicated location where they could come and socialize and play cards and do things and have a location that was truly theirs. And so it's a very special day for them and for the veterans and really for the entire city of Maricopa.
I just also want to thank the past and present councils, city managers, everybody, mayors. I don't want to leave anybody out, council members, but without all that prior, today wouldn't have happened. And as I said earlier, without our veterans, we wouldn't be here today. And again, God bless you and thank you for getting us to where we are and living in this greatest country in the world.
That's right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi everybody, Luis Vila, Communications Coordinator for the City of Maricopa. I'm reporting right inside the brand new Sprouts grocery store with the Senior Project Superintendent, Mike Kelly from AR Mays, who's been working on developing and constructing this very grocery store coming to our community in the very near future. Hi Mike, how you doing?
Good, thanks.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the construction process and how everything's gone thus far?
It's actually been a real pleasure to work with the City of Maricopa. From the front office to the building inspectors, fire marshal, fire inspectors, it's gone really smoothly. So here in Maricopa, you guys have done a great job and it's been a great project so far.
And I know some people may be worried that the shelves are empty right now. So when can we expect the actual groceries and everything to be delivered?
The next big step for us here inside the store is going to be to start stocking dry goods. So things are going to start happening real quick.
Okay. Final question. Everyone's really want to know, when is Sprouts going to be open?
Well, I hope you're here the 25th so that you can get your tuna salad.
I will definitely be here, and I hope to see all of you here. For all the latest developments and great things happening with the City of Maricopa, please check out what'snewmaricopa.com. Last week, the City of Maricopa came together for the largest community cleanup campaign in the city's history. Individuals from all walks of life rallied and walked throughout their community, picking up litter in a vow to keep Maricopa beautiful. We received dozens of emails from groups showcasing their efforts to keep Maricopa beautiful by collecting multiple bags of litter during the 2-hour only event. To learn more about the next community cleanup event, please visit keepmaricopabeautiful.com.
Good morning, City of Maricopa. We are standing on the north side of town on State Route 347, which is the main entrance into the City of Maricopa. Over the last few years, we've seen tremendous growth with residential and commercial. As growth continues, it gives us the opportunity to do additional projects, one of which is a landscaping project down the 347. It'll go from Honeycutt Road to the north entries of town. This includes trees, landscaping, rock boulders, some metal art deco. There'll be some lighted metal structures all the way down the median. When you pull into the north side of town, we're going to have an impressive monument right in the middle of the road that represents the City of Maricopa, which has been well needed for many years. This project has been years, maybe even decades in the making, with City Council and citizens' requests and responses to increase the beautification of coming into town. We'd like to thank each one of you for the time, effort, energy, and the patience of getting this done. We look forward to having this project completed by the end of the year.
The August 9th Planning and Zoning Commission with invocation by Commissioner Green and Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Yocum. Please stand.
Father, again, thank you for the day and thank you for your many blessings and all the wonderful grace you bring to us. And again, just be our guiding light as we go about conducting the business of the city. And again, we just lift up to you the people, especially the children of our city, and they return to school. And all the people just dealing with the illnesses and various issues, fires. So be our guiding light and be with us. And we thank you for all that you have provided us. We ask this in
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Robertson. Commissioner Frank.
Here.
Commissioner Irving.
Here.
Commissioner LaFall.
Here.
Commissioner Yocum.
Here.
Commissioner Sharp.
Here.
Chair Huggins.
Here.
Madam Chair, we have a quorum.
Thank you. All right, moving on. Call to the public. If you wish to speak and it is not on any of the items that are listed on the agenda, please go ahead and approach the podium, stating your name and address. And none, we'll move on. All right, 4.1 DRP 21-09. The Planning and Zoning Commission shall discuss approval of a request by RKAA Architects on behalf of Eagle Shadow LLC requesting review and approval of site plan, landscape, photometric, and elevation plans for proposed 11-acre RV storage facility generally located east of the southeast corner of Cowtown Road and White and Parker. Discussion and action.
Good evening, Commissioners. Chair Huggins. First on the agenda today, this evening, we have DRP 21-09, Maricopa Rv Storage. It's a request by RKAA Architects on behalf of Eagle Shadow LLC. They're requesting the review of the site plan, landscape, photometric, and elevation plans for a proposed 11-acre RV and boat storage facility, generally located east of the southeast corner of Cowtown Road and White and Parker Road. As you can see on the subject site, the area in blue with the yellow star is the subject site, which will be portioned off from a larger, approximately 26-acre parcel owned by the same property owner. So they will be dividing this blue parcel, creating a new tax parcel through a minor land division process. That'll run concurrently or at whenever they start the process. It's an administrative approval and will be recorded with the county. As with our entitled processes with DRPs, part one is the zoning process. In this case, the parcel has a light industry and warehouse zoning where the RV and boat storage is a permitted use. Part two, which is where we are now, is a development review permit. And then if approved, moving forward, the applicant will go to part three, which will be the submittal for construction drawings and eventually a building permit. This is about approximately 11-acre parcel. The larger parcel surrounding is that parcel number is on the screen. The existing site use right now is vacant. They are proposing a commercial RV storage, boat storage facility. The general plan use is supportive with an employment land use. The existing zoning, as I stated, is light industry and warehouse. There'll be about 407 total stalls on the preliminary site plan. 335 of those are covered, with about 72 uncovered. In addition, they have 5 office parking stalls provided with handicap ADA parking provided. The site plan, this is the northern half of the site. This is Cowtown Road to the north, They would have two access points, ingress and egress, at both points. The office is at the northwest corner, and a little waiting area for temporary parking for the gate to open up. Number 10 directly to the left there, as you pull in, that is going to be the garage portion of the site. So there isn't a completely enclosed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, about 10 garage spaces available. All of the dark colored sites that you see on the site plan are covered. In addition, you can see that there is a wash facility and a dump station. I did confirm with the applicant that there is no gas refilling on the site, no propane or anything of that nature. So it'll be strictly a wash facility and a dump station. And I believe they were also providing ice to the people on site.
By what?
Ice for, you want to load ice onto an ice maker. Okay. So the drives, as you can see, are very wide, 40-foot drive aisles to accommodate both the larger sized vehicles on the property and meets fire requirements. Going back, as you see, we have a 25-foot setback on all sides. That is to prepare for whatever future use is going to be surrounding this area. Nice large setbacks. When I show you the landscape plan, I'll also show that you have 25 feet of landscaping before the actual enclosure wall. So from the outside looking in, you'll look about 25 feet of nice landscaping. On the south side of the site, as you can see, the majority of covered stalls, different sizes for different price points. There is also a gate at the southwest corner. Now this is primarily to connect to whatever future development could occur at the west, but also could be used, as I confirmed today, with our fire department as another access point for fire if they need to. The landscape plan, it has been updated from previous commissioner briefings where we saw acacia, we saw some mesquite in the right-of-way. So the applicant has since swapped that out and is now showing the red push pistache trees along Cowtown Road. So actually you're looking at the site now, north is actually to the east here, so that's a little misleading. But Cowtown Road is on the right side. And you can see the additional amount of landscaping along that frontage. And you can also see the abundance of landscaping around the site on all four sides with that 25-foot landscape buffer. The site area is at the bottom, and they have about 19% landscape area, which is above and beyond the requirements for industrial areas. Just a quick look, nothing special here, industrial area, but we did want a little bit extra architectural treatment on the Cowtown Road frontage of the wall. So the applicant did provide us with some cap and concrete cap columns, and those are 50 feet apart and about 1.5 feet depth by 2 foot columns. So that will add a little bit nicer look to the Cowtown frontage. Building elevations, very utilitarian. However, the signage at the top left there, the east elevation for the office building, as you can see, they do have a couple different materials with the glass. And then you have the wash bays for the bottom elevations. Traffic impact letter was submitted and reviewed by our engineering division. The report determined that the development will generate no more than 8 peak hour trips during the AM and PM. So not a lot of traffic, therefore the proposed roadway infrastructure for the development is adequate. I'll talk about what that's going to be here in a second. All intersections serving the road access are expected to operate at acceptable levels of service at both AM and PM peak hours. All approaches of signalized intersections and all movements of unsignalized intersection driveways are expected to operate also acceptable levels of service at both AM and PM peak hours. The city is going to require construction of a ribbon-type curb and installation of street lighting, which is consistent with industrial areas for street improvements. Additional pavement to accommodate the RV's turning radius will also be required at the entrance of the property per the engineer's design. With that said, in accordance with our zoning code, the decision-making body shall evaluate the proposed development so that it conforms with the following design guidelines criteria: the overall design of the project, suitable environment for occupants, visitors, and the general community. Colors, materials, and landscaping are internally consistent, fully integrated with one another. It's compatible with the neighboring development. It's visually interesting built environment. I'm not sure. As with all of our DRPs, it is a requirement for public comment that one sign is posted to the property by city staff, which was done. The notification letters were sent out as well to property owners within 600 feet of the subject site. And as of this meeting, no public comments were received at the time of the report. We as staff find the submittal items for DRP 2109 be substantially compliant with our zoning code, and we do recommend approval of DRP 2109 subject to the conditions set in the staff report. Commissioners, questions at this time?
Okay, thank you. Let's go ahead and, as usual, start with our outliers. Commissioner Sharp, any questions?
No, I just have a quick comment, and it has more to do with any of the uncovered parking. I know during one of our pre-meetings, I discussed with city staff, and if it was mentioned, I do apologize about the delay on this end, but I wanted to know if there was going to be allowed, or if the applicant had considered the ability to place off-site containers on site, as we've seen at some other storage facilities. Just given the size of the storage for RV storage, if they're going to allow that type of use. I think that use is permitted in the zoning code and for this particular thing, but I know you guys were going to reach out to the applicant, so I just didn't know if you had gotten a response.
So, Commissioner Sharp, just to start, I'll let the applicant speak for themselves. They are present here this evening. The use for the property is explicit to RV storage and boat storage. So if the applicant were to want to allow a different type of use, which would be just straight outdoor storage with storage containers, that would be required to be reviewed under a separate or an amended DRP application. With that said, I'll let the applicant speak to whether or not they foresee that happening in the near future with their site.
My name is Brad Hinton. I'm with Eldorado Holdings. We are the administrative agent for Eagle Shadow LLC. So thank you for having us today. Chairman Huggins and commissioners, we haven't really contemplated that just yet, however, in the back half, not half, back, call it quarter of the property, where there is non-covered parking spaces, there would be an opportunity, where you don't see the dark shaded there in the site plan. There's potential for that type of use, but as Byron said, we would have to come back in for reapproval. And so if there's a need or we get some interest in that, like for instance, a landscape company that needs to rent some space, that back portion would be, we would think we would be able to accommodate that if we didn't have all of the spaces leased up. So hopefully that answered your question.
Commissioner Sharp, does that answer your question?
It does. And again, guys, I apologize. I'm on about a 45-second, 50-second delay because I'm watching it on YouTube in order to hear clearly. So it sounds like it's something that you have not currently contemplated, but it's something that, again, and it was not a concern. I actually wanted to be proactive and give you guys the ability to do that with some caveats, meaning if someone brings a 40-foot container, you can't stack them 5 high, right? Like, let's put a cap on it, because I know that there are other storage facilities within the city of Maricopa that do something similar. So I do fully understand that it's something that it happens, it's going to come to you, and I'm trying to help you out here. So just something for the body to consider. If you got to come back for another DRP, that's fine, not a big deal. But I just wanted to kind of put that on the commission's radar.
Thank you, Commissioner
But
Sharp.
yes, you answered my question.
Thank you, Commissioner Sharp. Commissioners, Chair Huggins, it should also be mentioned that with that subsequent review, we have height requirements for stacking. Anything it would have to do with the height of the wall. So for however tall the whatever is being stored is, the wall must be basically twice as high as the storage units would be close to the wall. So they would require a second review. We would set parameters for how high things could be, how close they could be to the wall, in addition to fire having to look at the additional requirements that may exist when it comes to just outdoor storage and the use of storage containers versus RV storage.
All right. Ms. Rachel, anything?
Yes, I just wanted to just add so that the applicants could hear the compliments and concerns. I like the layout of it. I really do appreciate the covered and the uncovered. It to me seems that it's appealing to customers with various price points, and I appreciate that forethought. And I wanted to express the concern that was discussed about the, I think we called it tailgating, but also I think I mentioned to make sure that, we ensure that there's no residency set up there because of, all that's going on. People are finding other options for housing and shelter. So just to ensure that this isn't going to be that, that's going to be closely monitored to avoid it. And then lastly, making sure that the stations that are set for the waste disposal are constantly monitored and evaluated to ensure that there are no additional fumes that leak out, even if it's over time, just whatever systems you have in place just to ensure that that's closely monitored. That's it for me.
Chair Huggins, Commissioner LaFalle, would you like the applicant to speak to those concerns? Commissioner LaFalle? No?
No.
Okay.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure that they were mentioned.
Okay. I'm hearing duly noted.
Thank you, Ms. Rachel. Thank you, Commissioner Sharp. Let's start on this side. Commissioner Bill, anything?
Yes, Byron, I have a couple questions about the wash bay, and maybe the applicant will address it. Will the wash bay allow for motor and chassis cleaning, like a lot of RVers like to do? And if so, how will that wastewater be managed if there's any ADEQ requirements for oily water disposal, separation, that type of thing?
And just to make things easier, that kind of correlates to one of my questions, so you can piggyback on that, was what type of drainage system is it? Is it sewer? Is it going to be hooked up into the regular sewer through Global Water or septic?
Perfect. Yes, Chair Huggins, Commissioners. The wash bay area, a full-blown wash bay is a future phase because of the fact that Global Water doesn't have sewer service to this area just yet. So initially, that particular area will be, in phase one, will be additional parking stalls. And because of the Global Water situation, it'll be on a septic system, so we can't have the full-blown wash area, washing the chassis and everything of that nature. If such time that we do implement that, there will be your grease trap interceptor, and it'll meet all those ADEQ requirements and go through ADEQ for approval.
Yeah, I'm just going to piggyback on that, just to stay on topic. Then if that's the case, then is it going to be monitors, or is there going to be somebody there? I mean, how would you know if they're doing that washing of the chassis and everything else like that? Because these are, some of these RVs are pretty big, and you wouldn't be able to really see it unless there was somebody with eyeballs on it.
So it will be staffed, not 24 hours, obviously, but for the first phase, until such time that we do have Global Water service, it won't be a full-blown wash bay. At best, it'll have a hose with a dump station, just so you can rinse out your sewer hose after you dump your RV or camp trailer.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Frank.
So in the staff report, I didn't see any mention of the floodplain there. I think it's an AO or AH maybe. So I just wanted to make mention of that just make sure that goes through Pinal County for the floodplain use permit.
Chair Huggins, Commissioners, yes, we have already submitted a flood use permit to Pinal County to handle that, and part of the reason when you saw the site plan and that landscape buffer area that wrapped around the site, it's very minimal. We've already done the analysis, and the floodplain impact is very minimal. We're talking less than, it was really like 3 to 4 inches, and then most of the site was dry, and so we're allowing it to go through weep holes in the wall, and then it'll traverse around the site and then spread back out on ends up being the west side. So we are addressing that.
Is that using the Wood-Patel modeling? Just curious.
It is using the Wood-Patel modeling, but we used EPS Group, and the Wood-Patel modeling is a much higher level planning document to where we had to dive in and do more detailed topo and do a more detailed analysis.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Shocked you, didn't he?
No, not really. I know Dan.
Commissioner Irving, anything?
I have no.
All right, Commissioner Yoakum.
Now we got it, okay. I agree with Rachel and her concern about people perhaps trying to live there, monitoring that. Also the tailgate party possibilities, and we had talked about this before, the parties and the noise that you might have. I like the idea of the 25-foot buffers and the trees that are in there, and the consideration. This gives some consideration for what will be developed in the future in neighboring properties or developments. And also, thank you very much for Linda and me on the polyverties and the mesquites. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Yoakum.
Sorry, that's my pet peeve. I just got a couple things. So if you could go back to the other full site, one of my concerns was the ability of vehicles. No, I'm sorry, traffic. One more. I thought there was a big one, or was that just on the presentation, the work session one?
Yeah, I had to split them up because you couldn't see it otherwise. You
All right,
couldn't
so
see the details.
Okay, on this one right here. So is this egress only, or is this ingress as well?
The gate?
Correct.
It's an emergency gate. I would think one way at a time, so ingress or egress for emergency only.
Okay, so where does this come out to? I mean, I know right now this is an empty lot.
Correct.
So if there's an emergency, because like I said during our work session, I'm concerned about all these RVs and fire, and
Correct.
propane and fire becomes a big boom.
Correct.
Spreads fast. So if people are trying to get out, where's the emergency access to this? I mean, is this just an empty lot?
So the lot actually meets fire requirement without that third access point, with just these access points. And the reason being, they're vehicles, they're not buildings, so there's not going to be people in them for most of the time. So they're coming to drop them off. Most of the site will be vacant at any given point. So if a fire were to break out in one vehicle, and I checked with fire actually before he explained this to me, that it shouldn't spread more than one or two vehicles at the worst. However, it bears mentioning that because of these the structures are connected, anything over 5,000 square feet is going to be required to be sprinkled. So the majority of this site that you see, as it's currently laid out, full fire sprinklers are going to be required.
Okay, so that was part two of my question, because that was the other concern. And I hear what you're saying about no people traffic, but if people know that there's a fire in there, they're going to be running out to get their, $100,000 motorhomes out of there, or $50,000 motorhomes out of there
Sure.
quickly. There's a fire suppression system. Okay, that's good.
Correct.
The other concern that I have is just the one road. Is this road still just a 2-lane road?
Cowtown?
Yes.
Yes.
Has it been improved? Because I know that it stops. So is it going to be improved?
It is going to be improved with the ribbon curb, and hold on, I think it's further on. So ribbon type curb and street lighting and additional pavement, and actually the road is already paved, so they would be adding the ribbon type curb and the street lighting for the improvement.
It may be paved, but it's not paved very well. And I think the last question that I had was, you mentioned the lighting. Is this lighting going to be sufficient? And like if I'm out on a trip and I come back at 3 a.m., am I going to be able to access this after hours to be able to drop my RV off? And will there be enough lighting to get in and around that to be safe at 3 a.m.?
Would you like to field that one?
Chair Huggins, Commissioners, yes, there will be lighting throughout the site, under the parking canopies mostly, and once you reach outside the parking canopies, there's light poles in the non-covered areas. So pretty much your standard parking lot lighting in a commercial use, for instance.
Is it available to anybody 24 hours a day to access the?
It is. Yes, it is 24-hour access, yes.
And the lighting was fire and police made aware of that? Are they're okay with the lighting and everything on that for that type of environment?
I assume so.
So the photometric plans were approved and were accessed by fire department and were routed to police as well.
But with knowing the fact that it's a 24-hour access?
I would assume so. It is stated in the narrative, which was also provided to them, the hours of operation.
Okay, because I don't remember seeing hours. Okay, then that's all I've got. If everything, oh yeah, go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve DRP 21-09.
Seconded.
Okay, there is a motion and a second. Any other comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Aye.
Sorry, there's a delay.
My eye,
All right, guys.
yes, I want to make sure my eye was recorded.
Sorry, I forgot about the delay. Awesome. All right, that was unanimous aye. Thank you. I do say it's going to be a great project. Thank you so much for putting it together, and I don't think that we have anything like that here, so I think it's going to be great. Thank you. All right, guys, 4.2, PZ 21-10, the Planning and Zoning Commission shall hear presentation by Wagbach? sorry if I mispronounced that, consulting firm on the current process of Seven Ranches land use study discussion only.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, before I bring in our consultant here, I just want to precursor this presentation. So before you is our Seven Ranches land use study that I've been mentioning in previous meetings. I want to kind of just mention that this process has been, we started probably earlier this year, and the idea here is to give the community, commissioners, and our leadership a general update of what is the ultimate, maybe just another thought of what the Seven Ranches area could be. Just as a disclaimer, this is not steadfast type of document. This ain't a plan document. This is merely just to provide us a recommendation from a third-party perspective of exactly what we should be considering for the Seven Ranches area. So I want to make it clear to the public that this is not zoning. We're not changing anything out there. We're not removing people from the properties. This is just a pulse of what the current situation is in Seven Ranches. So with that, Mark Soden with SWABAC will present to you basically what has been occurring for the past 6 months as we've hired them to provide us their insight of what can be done for Seven Ranches. Mark?
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair Huggins and Commissioners. My name is Mark Soden. I'm a land planner and landscape architect with a company called SWABAC. We were the lead consultant. We had a civil engineer. It happened to be Wood Patel to do the civil engineering. And then we also had a market analyst company called RCL Co. So with that, try to give you a quick overview. Okay, I got it. As Rudy said, we started this early in the year and basically a 9-10 step process, and we're nearly complete. Our next to last step, we're planning to meet with City Council on early September. The scope of the project was entitled a land use study, but we also included the infrastructure that's necessary to support land use development on the project, and expanded really the definition of infrastructure to include not only roads, water, sewer, utilities, but stormwater drainage, and to some degree parks, open space, trails, and pedestrian connections between projects, between future development projects. And lastly, we looked at some priorities in terms of implementing some of the recommendations that were included. We started with basically recognizing that we had three clients, so to speak. We had the property owners, and there we thought their major concern was a land use study or plan that was flexible, was maximize the amount of flexibility. We also recognized we had to be respectful of the neighbors, neighboring properties, and that their main concern was probably the compatibility of land uses on Seven Ranches with their property. And the third party would really be the community at large, and recognizing that there's a need for greater diversity of choices in land use, especially of residential choices. But at the same time, there's also a need for additional economic, commercial development opportunities as well. So this site offers all of that, and I think we have the ability to satisfy all of those three different parties. But just to orient you a little bit, the location on south of Honeycutt, between Porter and White and Parker Road. Some of the existing land uses on the site, the Sequoia Pathway Academy School, the storage facility. On the lower left is the Postal Distribution Center, and on the lower right is the existing convenience store and gas station at Porter and Honeycutt. We also have a major Western Area Power Authority transmission line running basically north and south through through almost the middle of the site. And the photo on the right is of the existing site. And the photo on the left is the same power line easement just on the north side of Honeycutt. And it represents the type of development that we'd like to see or recommending for this in Seven Ranches as well. As a multi-use trail and also could be used to handle some of the stormwater drainage problems and issues that we have. Maybe if you're not familiar exactly with the existing uses, most of it is existing residential uses. The convenience store, the Honeycutt Business Park, south of Honeycutt Road, the storage facility, and you can see the power line easement and the green stripe. The 4 yellow areas represent projects that are currently under zoning review, unless one has been recently approved, I believe. So that's the one just south of Honeycutt to the west of the storage facility, correct? Yeah, that's been recently approved, a residential project there. So we started looking at what the general plan said for this area, and it was pretty simple. Talked about mixed use and employment and what the current zoning is for the site. This is an excerpt from the general plan document, the future land use map. You can see where employment was identified. The mixed use is the light blue. And then I think it's important to look at the context and see what is shown for the area east of White and Parker Road, a very large commercial area at the northeast corner of Seven Ranches, additional employment, residential, and then expansion of City Hall to the south. The existing zoning is left over from the old zoning ordinance, general business on basically the north half, general rural on the south. Both zoning districts only allow 1 residence per acre. So if anyone wanted to do anything more than that, then rezoning would be required. Kind of a summary statement to what we really envision for the property is a community that's interrelated, and this is language directly out of the general plan. A community interrelated, connected, walkable through high-quality roads, utilities, parks, open space, and trails. The basic concept that we envisioned was what we call this districts concept. So there's a major mixed-use corridor district along the south side of Honeycutt, a transitional zone that would more or less correspond to the alignment of Seven Ranch Road, and then a residential district to the south of Seven Ranch Road. Within those, there's key locations or commercial corners one where the existing convenience center is located at the northwest corner, another potential commercial development at Gunsmoke and Honeycutt, and then probably the most visible and highly trafficked corner that we have is at Honeycutt and White and Parker on the northeast corner. So within those areas, a little bit more detail on the types of land uses that we envision. Along Honeycutt, it would be a mixed use, retail, offices, and it may include some relatively high density residential. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. Similarly, along White and Parker, a mixed-use area with retail, office, and residential. Then you can see how the density of residential is envisioned to transition and get lower and lower density as you move south. So more of a medium density residential in the middle and low to medium on the far south. I mentioned that it's important to have connectivity between existing and future developments, and this is a system of what we're calling required roads, which are shown in red. So these would be the essential collector roads that would tie the entire community together. Probably the most important would be 7 Ranch Road, and then also Gunsmoke, at least from Honeycutt south to the intersection of 7 Ranch Road. Then we also are advocating development of future connections at what would be the 1/8 mile road street grid, which would be mostly the orange roads and orange arrows there, and then also a finer grain system or network of connections that would be primarily used by pedestrians to make these areas a more walkable land use development, and those are shown in yellow. This is one of the major connections or corridors, as I said, the pedestrian and bicycle mixed-use trail under the power line easement. This is looking from south of Santee all the way north towards beyond Honeycutt. Let's see, this is the graphics is a little bit strange with the black. Just ignore the black areas and focus on the green areas. Those are areas that are intended to address one of the major limitations to development is primarily on the eastern side of the site, which is very susceptible to flooding. So the green arrows represent a concept for diverting floodwaters around the site and thereby protecting all of the individual properties within the site from flooding. And so something would be required on the north side of Santee, the west side of White and Parker, and then bringing water around the south side of Honeycutt and releasing it at the historical release point, which is right at the under the power line corridor. That concept it's really a community-wide solution, and there's the other option, of course, is to let the city policy could be to let each individual development parcel address their own particular flood issues. So as was illustrated in the diagram, the option is for an entity like the city to come in and provide a regional solution to the flood problem, and thereby have a system that would be connected, coordinated, all developed more or less at one time, that you could use for drainage and perhaps trails and of course landscaping as well. This is a very tough site in general because of, number one, the flood control issues, the utility problems, the existing of the water utility issues with Global Water and the 7 Ranch Water District that the city's trying to work out long-term plan for that. The roads, of course, are minimal. There's a few somewhat paved areas, and the challenge here is with this type of property that where it's been subdivided into over 90 different properties. Some of it have been assembled, of course, to create some of the projects that you recently saw, but still, for example, for construction of the road along 7 ranches to be successful, that would involve coordinating the acquisition of the right-of-way from about 23 different land properties. Some of those properties, again, may have been assembled, so it may not be quite that bad, but it's a challenge to acquire right-of-way and develop a road. So similarly with the drainage, we've kind of focused on 2 options for road construction. One would be to follow the city policy and require each individual developer to develop his portion of the road. The other would be, of course, the city to come in through a capital improvement project perhaps, and develop an entire length of the road, perhaps the entire mile of 7 ranches or the quarter mile of Gunsmoke. So that would be the other option. So this is a very hypothetical illustration, but it begins to show the idea of how even if there is a wide variety of land uses that take place, that if the system of connected roads along the quarter mile, 8th mile, and then maybe the pedestrian connections along the 16th mile grid are implemented, then the community holds together as something bigger than just a series of individual projects. And that was one of the goals that we had for this, was to maintain the sense of Seven Ranches as a 280-acre community and not be broken up even further into just individual projects that don't relate at all to each other. A couple of highlights of the implementation listed a few of the major steps. Just adopting this study and utilizing it as individual development projects are presented to the city. Continuing to work with the water companies and the sewer companies to improve the infrastructure to the site. Perhaps amending the general plan and conducting a feasibility study to analyze the issue related to flood control to see which makes the most sense, to have individual properties or the city to do it all at once. Perhaps there's an overlay zoning document that could help implement some design guidelines and some other incentives for development on the site. Constructing Gunsmoke and a portion of Gunsmoke and the Seven Ranch Road was shown as a high priority, and then also constructing the improvements to the power line easement. Lastly, looking at the potential for land acquisition for some other unique or some other underserved land uses, such as a community cemetery or perhaps a community center, park of some kind that would service the entire community. A couple of key things about the public outreach: that we've had a website since virtually the early start of the project, so to allow people to go to the city's website and learn about the project. Of course, we mailed out invitations to 2 neighborhood meetings. About 800 invitations went out to everyone who lived within 600-foot radius. Made some special invitations to some of the stakeholders, the utility people at Global and Seven Ranch Water District. The first meeting, we had 16 attendees, and we presented a questionnaire, and I'll summarize a couple of their responses in a second. Press release we had after the first meeting. We emailed a copy of the presentation to people who told us they couldn't attend, and so we gave them sent them a copy of the presentation, and then also a draft of the study before meeting number 2, so they could have a chance to get familiar with it. Meeting number 2 was just held in the end of July. 24 people attended. We also had a questionnaire at that meeting, and this highlights a couple of things from the first meeting. The numbers, we asked them whether you agree, or you disagree, or you're neutral. So question number 7 got a very high number of people that agreed with the basic idea of the mixed use land use concept along Honeycutt and Honeycutt Road. We also began to see early on that people were hesitant. They were not adamantly opposed, but very consistently sort of apprehensive about the idea of anytime we mention the word high density residential or the word perhaps apartments, that kind of raised a red flag with some of the people. You can see here where we have a lot of people disagreed with the statement that said that the high density residents should be included even along Honeycutt Road. Let's see, the third question, number 10, the people expressed favorable response to the idea of pedestrian-oriented mixed-use development. Even getting into the details, suggesting that the parking on those kinds of developments should be behind the building, following a more traditional design format where the buildings are fronting the street. A couple of other, number 14, people were very agreeable to the idea of course, parks and small parks within a walking distance of their home in the residential areas. They were also very favored the trail along the power line. I think an interesting one is number 20, where it was kind of an even split. Equal number of people agreed, disagreed, and were neutral about this statement. And you can see that at the beginning of the statement, they might have been in favor of the idea of mixed use and the idea of a variety of use of retail, residential, offices, and those kinds of things. But then it meant at the end of the statement, it mentioned restrict automotive-oriented uses, and then also talking about allowing residential areas up to a density of 24 dwellings per acre. So I think that, again, raised a red flag with the people that disagreed with that statement. In meeting number 2, we had 10 questions and a couple of highlights. They definitely agreed that there's a problem with the water utilities in the area, water and sewer, that needed to be addressed. Again, very agreeable about the idea of mixed-use development along the major arterials. Again, like the idea of the parks and trails, and then expressed a strong desire to have Gunsmoke Road, Seven Ranch Road constructed all at once rather than waiting for individual property owners to do their piece one at a time or separately, both for, again, Gunsmoke and Seven Ranches. As I said, our next step is to make revisions as we see fit based on your comments, and then meet with the City Council on the 2nd of September. So thank you very much, and I'll be happy to take your questions.
Thank you. Let's go ahead and go out on the internet for Commissioner Rachel. Any questions?
Yes. Let me try. So if you could go back on the slides to the feedback from the meetings, I think it was the first meeting, there was, I think, items number 22 or 24 that weren't highlighted, but there was a greater number of residents who seemed to disagree with the questions. Are we able to show that slide again?
It's up.
Yes, number 22 and 22 and 23. Yeah, just to confirm, the third column is where there was disagreement. Is that correct? Because that
yes, that's right. There was, on question 22, there's 7 people that disagreed. Question 23, again, 7 disagree, and 24, 6 disagreed.
I didn't understand that.
He said that you are correct, that it is, they are disagreeing with the statement.
Okay. So the affordable housing, we know that's been an issue. And then number 23, the city should require high-density apartments and restrict single-family homes near transit and job centers. Okay. I just needed to reaffirm what that was saying. Okay. I think that's good. I think I don't have any more questions from there. I just need a clarification right here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Sharp, anything?
No, I just wanted to commend the consultant on putting together a very comprehensive land use study. Seven Ranches has been something that I've had on my radar going back to, I believe it's the AAPI. Oof, please forgive me on that initials, or acronym rather, when we did another land use study back in 2011. So this is a more comprehensive, it's very well laid out. It just gives us as a commission some really good direction for how we want to approach Seven Ranches. As Rudy indicated, this is not something that's set in stone. This is certainly not a planning document, but it is something that will guide some of our decision making going forward. Seven Ranches is super close to the city hall, right, and the new city center. So how we decide to proceed on that as a body and as a city is going to be a really important part of how the city develops overall. So again, I commend the consultants on putting together a very comprehensive and very thought out land use plan. So thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Yocum, we'll start on this side this time.
I think the flooding and draining issues are going to be very challenging. And I don't know who is going to take the lead there, whether it's going to be the city or the city along with property owners and developers. Street development, sewer, and water, they've been ongoing challenges, and I think they're going to continue to be. And I do believe that all three of those are going to be property owner, developer, and city combination addressing. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Irby?
Yes, I guess I'd like to throw something radical in. Would you look at submitting a plan that has absolutely no economic development and is entirely devoted to parks and enhancing museums? That is really in the what I would consider the entertainment, relaxing part for the community. I mean, this all has mixed use. What if you didn't do any of that and developed just something that said this is totally for the enjoyment of the people in Maricopa, and we can exist with all the other growth that we have now? Was that ever thought of? Because again, you clearly see in here from what I pick up, that's what a lot of people want.
Yeah, that's an interesting idea. I think that, if someone, there's a couple of ways that could happen. Maybe there's a private developer that does that kind of commercial recreation type of development. You see it in I think Gilbert, there's a project down there where they have like 8 softball fields. It's all, you pay a small entry fee and there's a restaurant and they generate some money that way. But so a private person could come in and develop something like that. I'm sure the city would consider that very carefully. Now, but the difficult thing is, as I said, there's that person would have to go in and acquire a great number of individual properties from some people who don't want to sell. They want to stay there for a long period of time, and so there's a big challenge with assembling, property and getting the right configuration of the property, because some of those properties are fixed, like the business park, the storage facility, the church in the middle of the site.
But you're still talking economic development. I'm not talking economic development at all. I'm saying all the people there would obviously stay. I'm talking about the city investing in that, like they did with other areas.
Right.
And I know it would be a shock, but there are some people who I think feel we're right where we need to be with economic development. The city's doing well, taxes are well. Let's talk about investing back into our city and our people. And I know it sounds like heresy, but not dealing with economic development. I guess it's a challenge to look at it, the cost of it, and see how I would love to see how the city would respond to that.
Yeah.
Because again, I'm not talking about economic development at all, which means they're going to have to bite a big bullet, but they're constantly talking about, we've got surpluses here, there. How much of that are you really willing to reinvest in your people?
Yeah, that's an important policy question. I would think that you could raise at any time. But again, Well, frankly, we didn't look at that. No, I mean we looked at some. It was a challenge even to look at getting the city to look at, let's say, purchasing a small parcel, like 3 acres, 5 acres, something like that for some kind of community park or community center, maybe some meeting rooms, crafts rooms, daycare, maybe maybe a swimming pool, playground, that kind of thing. That I would think that is maybe more feasible than asking the city to purchase the entire, anything much larger for.
But look at what your data tells you. I didn't come up with this. Your own data tells you that.
Yeah.
I don't want to beat it to death. I guess all I'd like to see an option that makes the city look at that kind of investment. That's all I'm asking.
Yeah.
And so, you put up, which was, everybody said was great, but gee, what about an option B2 that doesn't have any, that's all I'm, and again, it's obviously not your choice to do it. You're just presenting, here's what that would look like with that kind of, that's all
We could, I think that's a reasonable option to look at. I mean
that's all.
Okay.
That's all I've got.
Commissioner Dan.
So yeah, I think it's a really good study. I think, as some of you know, I work with Maricopa County Flood Control and projects up there. This is very well suited for a master plan type solution or regional solution here, and I think it's definitely going to take something like that, because if you have individual property owners come up with a solution, they're going to fix their little segment of it, and then it's going to be disconnected and inconsistent and everything else. So that just doesn't work in something as complicated as this. And then related to it is the trail system that you have going through there. It's an excellent opportunity. I'm afraid the horse is out of the barn in some cases, that we've lost some of that corridor. But to have that connection that basically goes from what was the old library, I guess it's the community center now, and goes through the development there, and then it pops out right in a direct line almost to City Hall.
Right.
It's just a perfect connection point that wouldn't take somebody on a bicycle any time to get from one point to the other. And then those two things really go hand in glove. You have the regional solution tied up with this greenbelt concept, and boom, you got your drainage solution, you got, the connectivity, everything, and it would just be a perfect solution. Now, piggybacking on what Jim had said here is that perhaps the only way to really move the needle on that would be a partnership or something with the city to do an advance acquisition of the land within that corridor, or some kind of agreement with the property owners that are already there, so that we don't continue to lose that connection, those little parcels there, and kind of tie that up now as funds permit and everything. So I really hope that we can maintain that trail system moving forward, because it's a great potential asset for the city.
Yeah. Thank you, Commissioner Frank. Yeah, I agree. I think together with this power line transmission corridor and the solution for the flood control or drainage, it represents a real opportunity to kind of have a nice comprehensive system of trails and that loop around. They're not just dead ends and that type of thing. So I agree with what you say there.
No comments. In piggybacking off of what they were talking about, I'm kind of, I was happy to see that the response from one meeting to the next in the way of participation had gone up. I was happy to see that, and I was happy to see that they were responding to that. What I'm worried about is I'm wanting to make sure that within that presentation that these homeowners are not in any way, shape, or form feeling that we're pushing them out, that we want to work with them, we want their heritage to stay intact as long as they're willing to stay there. If two of those parcels want to stay there forever and a day, okay, that's great. I want to make sure that they get that feeling that we're not trying to, as a city, trying to say bye-bye. We're trying to, you know, push you out and build this into this type of environment. We don't want that. I don't think any of us want that. I think we want them to feel that that's their home, that they don't lose their heritage to that. And if they want to leave it from generation to generation, that there's something within this document that actually tells them that says, we understand, we care about you, we don't want to lose you. We're there for you. So I think we need to make sure that we address that, because I didn't see that anywhere.
Chair Huggins, I think you're right. I think maybe right up front in the introduction, or there should be a statement to that effect that really explains, because we, in the first meeting in particular, we did encounter some people that said after the meeting, hey, you know, they had that same question. They were wondering, well, am I going to be forced out, or are you going to condemn my property, that kind of thing. So.
Yeah, and again, to Jim's point, that's exactly what I don't want them, and I think I can speak for the entire commission for that banner. We don't want them, maybe even the entire city, to feel that we're trying to push them out for the efforts of economic development. We can do that anywhere. We don't want to lose this. We don't want to take their home away from them, nor do we want to keep them from the ability to have horses in their own homes. I mean, if that's what they want, so be it. And I think that somewhere within this document, and I agree with you, at the beginning would be the best place for it to state specifically and very clearly that the 7 ranch areas is an area that we want to leave untouched if that's what the homeowners require and want. All right, I think I've got everything said. Everybody else?
I'm good.
Great presentation. I'm excited.
Good job.
Thank you.
Yep, great job. And
Thanks
thanks for that.
Thanks, Ma'am.
Chairperson Huggins.
Welcome.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, the only thing I just want to make mention is that the work doesn't stop. The work continues here. So if what we presented to you is simply a pulse of what we're seeing out there, I like the ideas that came out for the commissioners, and it gives us an opportunity to revisit this area further, because we are on the hook fairly soon to update our general plan. So this gives us a great opportunity to we've assessed a specific area of the city, and as we update our general plan, this will be something to consider. Based off this information, are we in the position to maybe reassess what is 7 ranches, or what opportunities there is for 7 ranches as well? So thank you, Commissioners.
Rudy, if I may, I'm so sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, Commissioner Sharp.
There was one thing I wanted to mention about 7 ranches that I didn't hear in our discussion, is that there's currently a consolidation of some of these parcels. So where I'm fully aware and cognizant of some actual homeowners who are proud to live in 7 ranches, they love their forest properties, and we want to maintain that. There is significant consolidation of some of these lots. And so if we don't have a land use plan in place, then it will become very disjointed, and it will not have that sense of place like what this land use study is trying to provide us. So I just wanted to highlight that and just kind of let the commission know that there is just significant consolidation of some of these lots and parcels, and it's not all residential or not all homes over there. So that's it. Thanks.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Commissioner Sharp. Okay, moving on. Item number 5, reports from commission and or staff.
Yes, Madam Chair, Commissioners, just a heads up. Our next, actually, put on your calendar, we have 2 general plan amendments on schedule for this year. One is called Kelly Ranches, and the other one's called Santa Cruz Ranch. They're required to have 2 separate public hearings at 2 separate locations within the city. So the P&Z Commission will have 2 separate meetings. The first one is scheduled for September 27th, and that will be at Copper Sky at 6 o'clock. And then the following one will be, I believe it's the 4th Monday of October. So I believe that's October 20-something.
25th.
25th, yes. So just a heads up, just put that on your calendars.
And where is that one at?
Here, it'll be here at Council Chambers. We just have to have at 2 separate locations. Right now, they're under a 60-day review as a type of public outreach has been notified for all 60 days to any agencies as well. So they're currently in the review process for the general plan amendments.
Hang on one second. Now, is that going to be for both of them?
Yes.
We're going to do both at the same time?
Yes, that's correct. Two items on September 27th. Also, I just want to make mention and out to the public, FYI, there is a construction fence just south of Iconic Tires, just FYI, that's not any approved proposal. We haven't seen it. I mean, if anything, that's just a temporary construction yard for the improvements of State Route 347, which is our beautification project. So that's just a holding site for construction materials, construction vehicles, and all that stuff to beautify this 347 road improvements out there. So that should be there for about 60 days. Should be completed hopefully by October. And then the last thing I want to make mention is that we did receive a development review permit submittal under 5,000 square feet that was submitted for the Burger King over at the Wells. And this submittal is just west of the Walgreens. Actually west of the retail center that has a dentist, and right next to it, that's an empty vacant lot, and that was reviewed and approved by the city for a 4,000 square foot Burger King drive-through facility.
Is that in correlation to the car wash that's being built?
No, the car wash is further west on the other side of Access Road. Yeah, the car wash is just somewhat east of the Jiffy Lube facility.
I'll wait till it goes up because I'm visualizing it.
Okay. And Madam Chair, Commissioners, that's all I have to report.
Awesome. Executive session, he's shaking his head. Nope, he wants to go home. So with that being said, guys.
Adjourn.
All right, we got a motion, a second.
Second it.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Delays, ayes. 7:12. Thanks, guys. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, guys. You all stay safe and have a great evening. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Miss Rachel.